You're listening to the Practice Slacker Podcast, episode 50. Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/proactiveslacker. With over 150,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. Today's podcast is also brought to you by Patreon. To figure out how you can help infuse our podcast with your awesomeness, visit patreon.com/PSM. Hello and welcome back to the Practice Slacker Podcast, the official podcast of PracticeSlackerMedia.com. I'm Devin.
I'm Nick.
And if you are watching the video podcast, that was a pop filter. I'm sure most of you don't need me to explain it, but I'm going to anyways. A pop filter, Nick,
Yeah, thanks.
is a filter that prevents popping.
Yes, I
You
think it's
cannot. You put it in front of your mouth, and soda pop becomes nearly impossible to drink. Pop filters. It's a good diet plan. I'd recommend
Is it? I mean,
yeah.
Or just don't drink soda. That's what I did.
But it's funnier with this.
Are you going to ironically demonstrate what a pop sounds like in your explanation of pop filters?
Should I?
Because since you have one, you don't need to be popping. But in order to explain it, you're going to have to make a popping sound, right?
Yes.
Is that did I correctly predict the future?
You did
Okay.
indeed.
Cool.
Wow. Nick, do you have a superpower we don't know about? Are you, in fact, somebody who can predict the future?
No.
Not just like logical sit down and predict, but like you actually can envision you get visions of the future so you know exactly what's going to happen? Are you like Desmond from Lost? Can you manipulate time? Do you have any other superpowers that we do not know about? Are you indeed part of the Avengers? Or S.H.I.E.L.D.? I mean,
Devin,
they're like the superheroes of the business world.
I'm going to have to ask you to stop talking about this current line of conjecture.
Well, I was having
because
fun.
that's absolutely what it is conjecture and not truth at all.
Something about the tone of your voice just then makes me think there may be more hidden behind that answer.
There is no more. I am only what I appear to be, and no more.
Okay.
So please inform the audience what pop filters prevent.
Pop filters
Pop.
are wonderful devices, and we used to use these all the time, especially back in the audio version days. Nowadays, in the video version, they will look weird.
It's true.
As you could have seen if you were
Right.
watching the video podcast and I was demonstrating at the beginning of the podcast.
Yeah, it might be worth checking out our channel just to see that.
Yes.
It's pretty funny looking.
And basically, the pop filter is like a circle fabric. I've seen people make their own for pretty cheap, just using like a bent wireframe coat hanger, and then they just put like pantyhose around it. So it's like a very thin fabric. Lets sound through well, but does not let wind through.
Right. Yeah.
Because wind, if you're super close up to microphone, will start to do things with P's and S's in particular, which is
Yep.
and
Stop. Okay.
And then-
You've
let me demonstrate with the pop filter.
okay.
Much less pronounced.
Right. So that's called a pop. That sound. So the pop filter filters that out.
Yes.
So it's aptly named.
Yes. And I used to use it all the time for the beginning intro of the Practice Slacker podcast because
There's a lot of P's and S's.
quite a bit.
In
I mean,
fact, that's mostly what it is.
yeah. You're listening to the Practice Slacker podcast episode, right?
Right.
And then hello and welcome back to the Practice Slacker podcast.
Devin, I feel like we should stop because this is probably hurting our audience's ears.
Is it though? Is it?
It depends on how loud they have it, but I'm going to assume it could. It could be.
This is true. We wouldn't want to hurt anybody's ears.
No.
So this is a really long and odd
Okay.
introduction to this podcast.
I guess you can consider that entire thing an introduction.
How has your week been?
My week's been good. I'm disappointed because I bought my computer. Right, I built that last week. We talked
Yes.
about it a little bit. In doing some graphical tests with my new graphics card that I was very excited about, turns out that my power supply unit, which I bought on sale to save money, was a bad idea to buy it on sale because it does not provide enough power. And so if my graphics card starts working too hard, the computer just shuts off.
Really?
Yeah, so it's a whole bad situation. I have to buy a new power supply unit, and I'm not looking forward to that.
Well, I would assume most of the reason of your discontent is financial because you've already spent a lot of money on it. Now you're having to spend more.
Exactly. Power supplies are one of the cheapest components.
Okay, that's good.
But still, it's, I have to buy an extra one that I didn't anticipate buying, and that's irritating.
So which would you say is more annoying right now? The fact that you're having to spend more money to get a new part,
Okay.
or the inconvenience of not having the part and having to order a new one and get it all plugged in and have to waste more time getting your dream computer assembled?
Right. It's definitely the inconvenience because I have all the parts. I can turn on the computer. I can start up video games, but when the graphics start getting a little bit too intense, it shuts down. And nothing's more irritating than being in the middle of a video game and you're like immersed and you're ready to go and you're having a lot of fun, and then literally your computer just shuts off. Like no warning. So it's really annoying and inconvenient, which is why I'm very glad that I've been playing a lot of Dark Souls 2 on the Xbox because it has a regular power supply that works. So.
I mean, can't you? I mean, with PC gaming, you could just turn down the graphics sliders, right? Like change it to low.
But then how do I justify spending all that money if I'm playing on a lowered graphics settings?
That's a very good point.
Yeah. So I won't be doing that. I'm just gonna. It's gonna be like 5 days I get paid today, I guess.
Nice.
So,
while we're on the subject of technology, I'm not going to talk about it for too long because, Nick, did you know we have an entire podcast,
we do.
segue, and selfless Promofin.
Promofin.
Promofin. That sounds like
would that be?
That sounds like a drug,
A terrible one.
like a over-the-counter drug.
Yeah.
Promofin. Yeah.
Okay.
I
I thought
meant-
you were gonna like add something that it might be used to treat.
I would try to, and my mind was drawing a blank, and I didn't want there to be that awkward silence where I'm trying to think of something.
Okay. See, you could have just strung that all together and been like, Promofin prevents writer's block. Because that's what you were having at the moment.
Well, I'm not a superhero, okay? I don't have this rapid...
Shh, Devin, stop.
Stop what?
I'm not a superhero. Stop insinuating it.
Okay. I'll take you at your word.
Okay.
You better not be
You
lying
better.
to me.
I'm not.
Okay. I meant self-promotion, Nick.
Yes, I got that. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Just clarifying. Yes, we have a podcast called the Nerd News Podcast,
We do.
where we talk about tech, gaming, science, all that jazz.
Yes. Pretty
And-
much our most beloved topics.
Yes, because what ended up happening with this podcast, which is supposed to be just like a variety bag of conversation topics, just to keep it
Mhm.
interesting and just to let you guys into our lives a little bit. It just ended up becoming nothing but tech and gaming all the time.
Yeah, we had an entire podcast, I believe, where we talked nothing more than Elder Scrolls.
And we had another one where we talked nothing but our favorite movies. That was
That's
our
true.
second ever podcast.
That was, yeah.
And it was at the point where we
Refocus, basically.
because not everybody likes that stuff, and we are kind of estranging the people who didn't like that stuff.
Right.
So again, we want this to be a podcast that is everyone loves.
Essentially, everyone can like it, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
The reason I bring that up is because we're going to be recording an episode of the Nerd News Podcast tonight,
we are. Yes. So, back-to-back podcasts for our live viewing audience.
which is the first time we've done a back-to-back podcast in quite a while, months. We used to
Yeah, we used to do short series and PSM ones back-to-back.
on the same night.
Yeah.
That's back when we were doing two shorts and series a week.
Yeah, because that was a pain.
Yes.
It was mostly timing
Yes.
for that. This is timing as well, I guess.
Yeah.
So,
So join us for that. If you guys are listening to this the night of, if you're watching the live stream or you've seen the link on Facebook, stick around because we're going to be doing the Nerd News Podcast shortly after this one.
yeah, I would estimate like a 10 to 15 minute break between podcasts.
Right. And all that being said, my tech news, which we'll talk a lot more about in Nerd News,
Yes.
is I'm finally getting a smartphone.
I'm very excited.
I will, for the first time in a long time, have a piece of technology that is superior to a piece of technology that you have.
It's true.
Which
It's
never
almost
happens.
never
I
happened.
think that's happened twice.
Yes, once when you got that laptop,
Yes.
and then now with the smartphone.
Because I think when I got this laptop, which you can't see in the video podcast, it's in my lap.
Where it belongs.
Yes. On top of my lap.
Exactly.
I got it back in 2010.
Yes, and it was state of the art in 2010.
Oh, yeah. At the time. Now it's 4 years old.
Yeah, and it's, been dropped.
But in 2010, I think you were still using like an older white MacBook.
I was, yeah.
I think it was like an 08, 07,
I-
somewhere around there.
It was, yeah. Not a great computer is
And then
what it was.
you quickly went up to me, and you've had a smartphone for how long?
since before you had that laptop.
Dang. So, but I'm getting the Nexus 5,
Yes, you are.
and you have the Nexus 4.
I have the Nexus 4.
Boom.
I had the Nexus 4 since a couple months after it came out. So
Yeah, all I'm saying is my phone's better than
Okay.
yours.
that's true.
That's
But
okay. Good.
All
That's
that does is motivate me to want to get a better one.
No,
And unfortunately,
no, because then I would lose my one handhold I've
know,
ever
and I
had in this
can't-
technology war between us,
I
Nick.
can't have that.
I can't lose that
Why?
because give me this one victory for now.
Okay. Yeah, you did. You actually had a better camera than me for a long time.
That's
Until
true.
I bought a second one that we could use.
Yeah, but that's not like a piece of technology that most people have.
I would argue a fair amount of people have
Well,
cameras.
yeah. I mean, people are interested in photography and whatnot, but when it
Mhm.
comes down to bare bone basics, most people have some type of computer, be it a tablet, desktop,
Mhm.
laptop, and a phone,
That's true.
and
I suppose.
some kind of MP3 player before it got fused in with smartphones.
Cameras also got fused in there too. So
Yeah. Yes. So yeah, I'm excited about that, and I'll talk more about it on the Nerd News podcast.
Okay. As far as a not tech related part of that, I can't wait to give you all kinds of tutorials because you're just going to be asking me questions.
I actually was thinking about that. I'm like, I'm gonna have to set aside time that we could just be like, Nick, teach me your ways.
Yes. And I will feel obligated because since you've been without one for so long, I feel like you need to be alerted to all that it can do.
Well, and that's why I'm legitimately thinking it may take me a while to learn how to use a smartphone, which to most people listening or watching, like, what? Huh?
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous that you don't have one yet, but you're getting one, so you've solved that problem. I think that it will take you a while to learn what it's fully capable of,
This is true.
and I think I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised by things your phone can do for months on end.
Yes. But that being said, I have non-tech related news.
Okay.
Again, this shows, I guess, my personality type. How I'm always behind the curve. Always. I'm
Okay.
never on top of the curve. I'm always behind it. I'm never in front of it. Never with it.
Okay.
I'm always behind it. I guess that's just my personality type. I think frugality has a part to play. I also
I
think
don't know. You're a late adopter, and it's almost like you require things to prove themselves so much before you buy into them that it's already too late.
no, because like I don't think it was that I needed a smartphone to prove itself. I knew it was capable. Like
Yeah.
a couple years ago, it's just like I
You're
can't be
right.
bothered. Like I have to get up and I have to go to the store. I have
I
to
guess
interact with people to change my and it's not worth it. But I think
I don't understand you.
I don't either. I'm trying to figure that out.
Okay.
So I think my frugality has a part to play partially when it comes to like buying things, but also just again, I said this a few minutes ago, but the I can't be bothered aspect
Right.
or the
I completely understand that.
or I'm too busy. Like for example,
I guess your threshold for becoming bothered is just way, way higher than anybody else's.
right. And another part of it I think is I'm a man who I don't seek routine, but I'm comfortable with it. So if I have a routine going, I'm like, okay, this is cool.
Okay.
And so I just kind of fall behind the curve because I'm like, yeah, I like my routine.
Okay. See, I actively dislike routines.
I know.
Okay. You
Yes.
noticed that?
Oh yeah, I've
All
noticed.
right.
I think that's why we work so well as a podcasting duo.
Okay, because I keep changing it up.
Yeah, and only as a podcasting duo because off podcast, what you guys don't see is we're literally like yelling at each other all the time and beating each other up and throwing each other in front of cars.
Devin,
And-
and they would have to believe you would be bothered to do that.
That's true. Dang it. I invalidated my own lie. That's a lie. We actually get along off the podcast.
Which is weird that we would start a business together if we got along.
I know,
don't
right?
understand
Just
that.
Who would
Like,
do
why
that?
would we want to spend more time together?
I know. It's ridiculous. I say this because, for example, that was
Don't worry about it.
okay. We'll leave that for the video. Viewers saw that.
See, you're already worrying about it.
The audio listeners are saying, "Why did they suddenly stop? Why did things get awkward?" Well, go over, watch the video podcast. You'll find out. Turns out Nick cannot drink energy drinks properly. He just spills them all over himself. Anyway,
I get nervous when people watch.
do you?
Yeah.
So it's like performance anxiety. It's like I have to drink this energy drink correctly, otherwise everyone's gonna judge me.
Well, It's more of a speed thing. Like, exactly, you had to wait till you were done talking to take a drink and then finish your drink before I'm done talking so that you can continue the conversation.
Did I not give you enough time to drink your energy
yes,
drink?
and so I panicked.
Okay. I'll work on that.
No, I mean, you don't.
I'll be more mindful of your energy
I'll-
drinking schedule.
I think I'm just going to try to not panic about it.
Okay. It's a good
And-
piece of advice.
Okay.
Just
Don't panic.
Yeah.
Thank you, Hitchhiker's Guide.
You're welcome. So, anyways, back to my original point of
Okay.
me being like a late adopter and not having enough time to, not being bothered and just being a late adopter to things in general. Is, for example, let's take my favorite television shows. Okay.
Okay.
Out of
I'm going to have something to say when you're done.
all of my favorite television shows, there have been 2 that I've actually watched from the beginning and followed through. Right?
Live every week on TV.
Or Hulu Plus the day after,
Right.
or
well,
Netflix.
Close enough. You were actively following it as it happened.
Yes, since
that was-
since it premiered.
Lost and Fringe.
Fringe and Revolution.
Okay.
Lost, I actually started watching it when it was in the break between its 3rd and 4th season.
I would still say that for half this duration of the entire show, you were on top of it.
Oh yeah, but it was a factor of I had to,
Catch up.
so I didn't start from the beginning. And I'm kind of that way with books and video games and TV shows and movies.
Mm-hmm.
Like I hardly ever go. The only time I ever go to like a live movie showing is if it's a franchise, or movie that I've been particularly super excited about, which is rare.
It is very rare.
Or if there's a big group of people that I like that are going, like, oh yeah, I'll hang out
Yeah,
with
if it's a social event.
them. So with TV shows, for example, I have just started watching a television show that everybody's told me this is an amazing television show. It's great. You have to watch it. You have to watch it. It's amazing. And here I am, like 3-4 years later, finally starting it.
The Walking Dead.
The Walking Dead.
Amazing show.
Fantastic. It's
Yep.
I can't judge it until I've watched the whole show,
Right.
but it may be.
You've
in
seen
the-
the first season, though, right? The
Uh,
entirety of the first season?
I'm halfway through season 2, so yeah.
So, yeah. Okay. So I feel like you can accurately judge your like of the show based on watching just one season.
Yes. The endings of series as a whole play a big
Yes.
role in my overall level of affection towards the show. For example, Lost, I loved until
Right.
the last episode, and it was
Exactly.
terrible. Breaking Bad, I loved all the way through, and the last episode of Breaking Bad was a satisfying resolution.
Mhm.
So,
Those resolutions are nice.
yes.
I would argue, though, that this is almost becoming a equally valid way to watch and consume TV, is by waiting until the entire thing is done and watching it, like binge watching it.
Yeah.
I feel like that's becoming a much more common thing, especially with the prevalence of Netflix and Hulu and whatnot.
Oh, definitely. But I just started watching. My big thing before watching Walking Dead is I assumed it's just gonna be another show about zombies, just zombies and killing zombies. Ooh, yay, zombies! Everybody's doing zombies these days. Then I watched him like zombies are in there, but it's really about people and what people.
really is.
If I
People put under unimaginable stress.
I was just about to say if I had to sum up the whole show, I would say it's a show about what people would do in extreme circumstances.
Exactly.
And it has a level of character development that I don't think I've seen in any other TV show. Like all the
It's-
characters, even the side characters that are only in like 3 episodes,
Mm-hmm.
have a lot of like development and depth to their characters.
It's true, and I think that does say something about the fact that they pulled this all from a previously existing graphic novel series.
Yeah.
But I will tell you that the TV show and the graphic novels and the video games all follow completely different, separate storylines.
Right.
So a lot of the characters are the same, but they die, because most of them die. They die at separate times, and the stories are completely influenced by those deaths and whatnot. So the overarching theme and the content of the characters is relatively the same, but the plot lines are completely different. So
Right.
essentially, they have fully developed characters they're pulling from the graphic novel that they're putting into kind of different retold stories,
Yes.
and it's amazing.
yes.
I feel like the graphic novel definitely helped cement these characters before they started the show, as opposed to developing the characters as the show progresses.
Yeah. Also, It has some of the best cinematography I've seen in a television show in a really long time.
Yeah, amazing. The special effects were what blew me away.
Oh yeah,
When
for
I-
a TV show especially.
Absolutely, yeah. When I watched the first episode and seeing the the zombie that had been chopped in half
Oh yeah,
and was like crawling towards him when he was getting the bike, I said, okay, with these zombie effects, how can I not watch every minute of this show?
yeah, and the makeup is fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
with the zombies as well. It's really well done, and I just like for me. I like shows that focus on characters, and these characters
Yeah.
are so dynamic and complex that it's such a fast. I watch it for the characters. Like a lot of shows are just based off plot, like oh this happened, this happened, this happened.
Mm-hmm. But every time I hear someone talk about Walking Dead, it starts with a character's name and ends with an action that some character did to them or against them or whatever.
Yes,
It's always about the characters.
in terms of zombies, I have other
Okay.
things I wish to talk about.
About zombies.
Somewhat about zombies. So I was watching a TED Talk on YouTube.
Okay.
Was
Was it about zombies?
It was about parasites, but there was a zombie
Okay.
reference in there. For those of you who are watching or listening to the podcast that don't know, I'd highly recommend go over to YouTube and just type in TED Talks. It's a conference that they do. I think they do multiple conferences in multiple places all over the world every year.
Yeah. Essentially, it's smart people get together to talk to other smart people in presentation format. And
Yes.
and it's kind of unrestricted as far as like the content and the way the presentation progresses. And so it's a myriad of fascinating topics that
Oh,
are
yeah.
talked to by experts in that field. It's amazing.
Yes, and it's definitely like if you're interested about a subject, I guarantee you that subject has a TED Talk that you would find interesting.
Absolutely.
Um,
I've watched a couple on physics that blew me away.
I also sometimes I just like watching TED Talks that are about something I haven't had any interest in, like a disinterest. Not like I don't like this subject, but I'm like I've never thought about it, and I'll watch a TED Talk on it. I'm like, ooh, that was really cool.
Yeah.
I just learned something. You learn a lot of stuff watching them, and they're really, really just interesting to watch. And I was watching a TED Talk. It was this guy who was really oddly funny for his field. You want to expect people in his field to be funny. But
Yeah, that's the thing. A lot of them are shockingly good on stage.
yeah, like just in terms of being a
Yeah.
presenter.
It's like they took the team of nerds that were conferring about this subject and figured out which one of them was best presentatively.
Not you,
which is
definitely.
not me. No, I would not succeed there.
Presentatively.
Yes, and they put them on stage, and it's awesome.
Yes. And
But what was this Parasite one?
he was a professor who had a specialty in parasites.
Okay.
And so the first part of the presentation, he's just breaking down these are the types of parasites we know. Here's how they act and whatnot.
Human parasites or just parasites in general?
Just parasites in general. He started with like
Okay.
a lot of insect parasites.
Like ichneumons?
And-
Parasites.
What?
You're a parasite.
We're parasites?
Yeah, we're parasites.
Ladies and gentlemen, Daniel Medina
Is here.
is here. Nick, you remember earlier we mentioned the Nerd News podcast?
Yes.
Dan showed up a bit early. So would you care to join us for the last half of the Practice Hacker podcast?
I kind of care. I'll do
Kinda
it.
care.
I mean,
Yeah,
He'll do it.
We're talking about parasites.
I'm here.
true.
I might as well
Okay.
partake.
Don't sound too enthusiastic.
Are these parasites, Devin, ichneumons? By any chance, does that word mean anything to you?
It does not.
Okay. That's a class of wasp-like parasite that's very creepy.
Is it?
Yes.
So for those of you listening to the audio podcast, or watching the video podcast, you might be confused.
Yeah.
Basically, I was in the middle of talking about parasites when a parasite of our own showed up and just decided to crash the podcast. So
I'm offended.
you should be. So we're gonna have him join us on the last half of the Practice Hacker podcast.
We are.
You guys
Waiting.
could meet Dan, be allured by his charm and devilishly good looks, and then be compelled to check out the Nerdies podcast, in which he is a co-host.
I don't enjoy the fact that I have to sit in
So-
the center of you two and very low.
We'll
It's not an ideal setup.
We'll figure out a better solution when we do the Nerd News podcast. We'll arrange things before we start that recording. You're so close.
It's true.
You're so close to the webcam.
Oh
This
man,
is awful.
How's it going, Dan? Do you feel nice and
it
cozy?
looks great.
Like I said,
That looks great on the video.
We're all looking to the right because that's where the monitor is.
I
Oh, wow.
appear larger because I'm closer, but in
It's-
fact,
No, he's actually
you're
that big.
He's Herculean.
I'm very close
Yeah.
to the ground.
All right. Well, Dan,
It works out because you're taller than us.
There you go.
would you mind if I continue on the subject I was talking about before you so rudely interrupted?
I'm sorry,
Okay.
but go ahead.
So, anyways, Nick, should we do the rest of the
behind
podcast
Dan?
not acknowledging Dan? So yeah, Dan, just to set it up, I was talking about Walking Dead, and then I was talking about brain parasites, and I'm about to merge the two.
Cool.
So this professor's talking about parasites,
Yes.
and he's saying there's this one particular, but like there's a lot of parasites that infect the host and then kind of take control of the host,
Yes.
which is effectively what like zombies are, essentially. They're a human host that was then
Right.
taken over by something.
It's the dead part.
Yeah.
That's the part that throws off everything.
Yeah, true. But there's a parasite called Toxoplasmosa gondii,
All right.
and it can host itself in the brains of various mammals, but it can only reproduce in cat brains.
Felines.
Yes.
Interesting.
Which sounds weird to me, but here's what they do. They try to infect a rat, and then
Okay.
the rat becomes a cat-seeking missile. It's like a homing missile for cats.
How does it know what cats are? Like what
It-
does the
It seeks out, whenever it smells cat urine, it seeks out
Okay.
that smell.
so the parasite is able to communicate to a different mammal's brain what cat urine smells like?
Yes.
That is impressive to me.
Yes. It then steers itself towards the cat that gets itself
Wow.
eaten. And then the parasite reproduces in cat brains.
That's crazy.
So I learned that.
There's a really weird parasite that lives through, I think it's 3 different animals. Like it can only reproduce inside the stomachs of cows, I think, or it's something like that. And then so it when it basically the cow craps out the parasite eggs. The eggs hatch, they get eaten, or they don't get eaten. They get taken by ants, and then they hatch in the ant colonies, take over ants, and then and then have the ants mind controlled to stand on top of grass leaves so that birds eat them. And then the parasite lives in a bird's stomach for a while till the bird craps it out, and then the cows, I think, eat that
Really?
or something like that. Like it's a huge system that involves multiple animals and tons of brain control.
There's another one where
Parasites.
it can only reproduce in a flamingo.
Okay.
So what it does is...
The most flamboyant of parasites.
Yes. I love how you found that so humorous, Dan.
I was gonna say something inappropriate.
Okay.
I refrained.
Okay. Thank you. So swarms of these parasites infect swarms of shrimp, change the physiology of the shrimp so they go from translucent to bright pink, and they gather in swarms instead of individually like they normally would.
Right.
So giant swarms of pink shrimp that the flamingo's like, ooh, tasty, and then eat.
Easy prey.
Yeah.
Okay. Then does this parasite kill the flamingos?
I don't know. He did not say.
Okay, I would assume it doesn't, or else flamingos would breed out eating pink shrimp. Like the ones that eat pink shrimp die, so they'll stop eating pink shrimp.
Yeah. True.
Have we talked about the fungus that takes control of ants and then spores and gets? Did we talk about that on Nerd News?
We didn't.
I don't
Although I
know.
remember seeing that in, I believe, Planet Earth, the documentary they did on Discovery a few years back.
Okay.
Is
Yeah.
it? That's the one where the fungus essentially gets the ants to bring it food, right?
Well, the fungus will infect one ant, and then it controls its brain, essentially its motor skills, and it tells the ant to climb on top of the colony, say up a tree above the rest of the ants, and then it spores, and all the spores fall on all the ants, and then does the same thing.
Interesting.
And the only thing that can kill it is another fungus.
All right.
So do the ants then turn to each other and say, there's a fungus among us?
They do not
Devin.
say that, Devin.
Oh,
No one says that but you, Devin.
you crushed my hopes and dreams.
All right.
Now, the reason I bring this up
Mm-hmm.
is because they found there's different estimates, but the general number is they assume Toxoplasmosa gondii,
right.
the rat
How many
zombie.
times did you practice saying that so you could correctly say it on the podcast.
That's not really that hard. Toxoplasmosa
lie.
gondii.
Okay.
Anyways, so basically, again, it could reproduce in any mammal brain.
Right.
Not reproduce. It could host itself in any mammal brain. Can only reproduce in a cat brain. And there's a whole bunch of estimates all over the place, but the general number is they assume that 1/3 of all humans have this parasite in their brain.
That seems like a lot.
And they've done a bunch of studies, and they found it doesn't really do anything. Well, again, it varies. Some people think, yeah, well, there's really no
Is this
difference.
the reason why there's cat people?
Maybe. And I'm not joking. But basically, some scientists, a small proportion of scientists, are saying,
Did this parasite originate in ancient Egypt? Is that why they like cats so much?
who knows? It might have. On the Nile.
Just
Anyway, so some scientists are saying there's really no difference between people who have toxoplasmosa in their brain versus those who don't.
right.
I mean, those who do, yeah, you know what I mean. There's really no difference between those who do and those who don't. Others are saying, well, people who have toxoplasmosa in their brain score slightly differently on personality tests and have more of an affinity for cats
Okay.
in general. And some assume that's because, again, the pheromones or the scent or whatever of the cat
Right.
urine then makes the person be like, oh, cats, right? So here's how I'm going to tie this together with Walking Dead. Are you ready?
Oh, right.
Okay.
Here's the kicker.
In the real zombie apocalypse,
Which will totally happen.
all the first zombies are going to be old cat ladies. All of them.
I think we're going to be all right.
So we're going to have a whole bunch of old ladies on walkers.
If that's
Like-
the first wave, we'll make it.
I think.
That even makes it better because in The Walking Dead, they're called walkers. They will literally be on walkers.
Oh, my Devin.
In
Devin.
It makes it so perfect to be
Doesn't,
the
though.
Walking Dead. They'll be on walkers, right? Old ladies with tennis balls in the end, they're walkers, but they're zombies, like right? And they have their denizens around them. They just have hordes of cats as like their own personal bodyguard army.
Are they zombie cats?
Presumably just normal cats.
Okay. Cats don't guard people. They don't care.
Okay.
Did-
Then let's
if-
say
did you know if-
this is the big plan of Toxoplasmosa, so they are zombie cats, right? So
Okay.
Toxoplasmosa wants to take over the whole world. Okay? Their goal
Why?
is zombie ladies, and the way they do that is through the cats, and then the cats become zombie cats with the zombie cat ladies, and they form their own personal, I guess, brigades that go out into the communities.
Okay.
The Walking Dead.
Oh, I feel like we should turn this into an actual trailer.
That we should.
Okay.
Ironically,
Did-
when I showed up, I was greeted by 2 cats
It's true.
at your
I guess I
doorstep.
must have this brain parasite because I like cats.
I don't.
One of the cats
Alright.
entered your house, by the way.
They're my cats.
Okay.
They can do it. They can enter
Just
and leave
making
as
sure.
they please.
Not
so.
zombie cats.
As far as I know, they're not zombie cats. Where I live them dead. I haven't seen them in a little bit.
One of them may have smelled dead.
Okay.
No, that's Flo. She always smells dead.
Okay.
Wow, Devin insulting my cats.
That's what I do.
All right.
That's what I'm here for.
He'll stoop to any level.
Is it just
That's
th-
exactly
you built
what I'm
an
here
entire company for that one insult against my cats?
Yes.
Okay.
It took a
Good-
long time, but now I can
Good
quit.
job.
So thank you
Thanks.
for the opportunity. It's been nice. But I've achieved my goal. So I'm
All
gonna head
right.
out.
You're so strange. Okay, we
Yes, I am.
but
Trust me, I'm not a stranger to that fact.
all right. We have feedback this week
Do we?
for this podcast
From Jan.
from Jan.
Oh.
Yay, yawn.
He titled it "May Cause Brain Damage."
Is it Toxoplasmosa?
No, but I figured
Aw.
it was a good transition. I haven't read it yet, so we're gonna find out what he's saying. He writes in, "Hey there, guys. Short email regarding life, the universe, and everything."
Okay.
I kind of like it already.
That's pretty
Broad.
easy answer. That's not much
Right.
information.
Yeah, don't panic. So I was watching a Rhett and Link video recently where they talked about parallel universes, and I wanted to share some thoughts with you. If there is an unlimited amount of universes and everything, what are you doing?
Nothing. Continue.
And everything can be thought of, does happen in at least one of these universes. We are basically living in a roulette wheel of doom. Think about it. Any way the world could possibly end happens in some universe at this very moment.
Yes.
And in another universe the next moment. So if we assume parallel universe theory is true, we are kept alive by sheer dumb luck. Admittedly, the chances of our world ending in this scenario are very slim since there's an unlimited number of Earths, but if you think about it, it's kind of scary. Kind of an interesting thought.
That got deep.
kind of did. It brings to mind a theory about parallel universes that I've heard, which is you can only experience the universes in which you live. So to you, the ones in which you die don't ever happen.
Right.
So essentially, if you were to do an experiment where you flipped a coin, and if it was heads, you shot yourself in the head, and if it was tails, you didn't, then in your brain, like, you would only ever get tails because that's the universe where you live.
Right.
So kind of weird to think about.
It is. Now, this is one of the reasons I was a big fan of the show Fringe.
Right.
Is because
they explored that kind of thing.
Yeah, it started off as kind of just like a X-Files for the modern times,
Yeah.
right? But then in the second and third season, they got into a lot to parallel universes and travel between the universes was possible. And like,
Yeah.
oh, this is me if I had made a different decision. And it's kind of interesting to think about.
It is, but I don't think we'll ever find out how to cross between parallel universes. And if so, that seems like it would just end up badly for at least one of those universes.
This is true. For a lot of reasons
Yeah.
of like matter
Matter.
and transference
And
all that
matter
kind
and
of stuff.
transference. These are
I'm a
buzzwords.
scientist.
Yep.
Yeah. Yes. But that is really interesting to think about. And I've seen the Rhett and Link video. Jan, I'm assuming you're talking about Good Mythical Morning when they had the alternate universe button on the microphone that they would push and it'd take them to an alternate universe of Good Mythical Morning.
Interesting idea.
And so they would change up the show with every time they push the button to be
Okay.
slightly different from how they normally do it.
Okay.
Do you think we should do that?
I think we have.
Oh, yeah. We have a... Yeah, we
Dan's here.
have a Dan.
It's different now.
It is.
So obviously it's a different universe just because
Well,
I'm here.
Yes.
Right. There are so many universes in which you are 10, 5, 15, 30 minutes late than you weren't here.
Yes.
So,
There's a universe where you got ran off the road.
I'm not very punctual.
There's a universe where you ran somebody else off the road.
That
That's
may have
this one.
happened.
That's
Yeah,
this
that
universe,
was-
Devin.
yeah.
What?
What?
Uh-huh. Is there something you would care to say? Both of my co-hosts are keeping lies from me, it turns out, this podcast.
For future theoretical physics knowledge references, I'm gonna recommend Michio Kaku. I don't know if he does stuff on YouTube, but he explains theoretical physics in a very matter
Simplistic
of fact,
way.
simplistic way.
specifically, check out the book Physics of the Impossible. It's a great book. You can borrow my copy if you want.
Yeah, there's been a lot of like super
Maybe it's
complicated.
on audible.com.
Maybe.
Ooh.
Which, by the way, Nick, is who is helping sponsor
Exactly.
this podcast of ours. You could head over to audibletrial.com/proactiveslacker and get yourself some physics books.
A Michio
Prepare
Kaku
yourself
book,
for the
perhaps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can prepare yourself for the impending parallel universe collision.
Yep.
And when you head over and meet your alternate self, you know what to say.
He actually talks about lightsabers
Does he really?
and how if we could ever get them, we couldn't get them to stop at a 3-foot sword length. It would just keep going until the laser dissipated.
I'm fine with that.
All right.
If we have
I mean,
lightsabers, that's all that
you could be
matters.
Standing on the edge of the Death Star and destroying Alderaan with the lightsaber because it's that long.
Well, you want to destroy it, just cut like a little sliver.
Devin, if you cut a planet in half, I feel like the damage would be catastrophic.
Okay, maybe you're right.
We established Devin's a scientist. Let's not
I'm
question him.
I'm a professional scientist. I just put on a general idiot act. That way people won't suspect.
Why?
Because it's fun. So,
Okay.
again,
Reason.
if you want to prepare yourself and get knowledge for the impending convergence of all parallel universes into one single multiverse, you can figure out how to do so by going over to audibletrial.com/proactiveslacker and getting yourself a free audiobook, whole free audiobook,
Yep.
and a month of free Audible service, and get all that knowledge in your head before it happens.
Absolutely.
So go check them out. Helps them out. Helps us out. Helps you out. You get knowledge. We get money. Audible gets money. And everyone gets a win-win.
Yeah.
Yes.
Win-win-win.
Yes,
There's
exactly.
three parties
And, going back to the very beginning of this podcast,
Mhm.
one of the reasons we don't really use pop filters that much anymore is because we don't have stands that we
Yeah.
need. We don't have the microphone
it-
setup we would like. And if we had money, we'd be able to do that.
Oh, is that what you're saying? Is
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can
you're
both
begging right
prepare. Yeah, you can both
Okay.
prepare for parallel universe apocalypse and get us some good stands and setups for our microphone setup, and it's a win-win.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Physics of the Impossible, a scientific exploration by Michio Kaku, free with 30-day trial membership.
Is it really?
It is on
It
there.
is.
So you could go get out this book that I
Our
recommend.
recommendation this week.
Yes.
Nick.
Dan, why don't you
Yeah.
show that to the camera real quick?
I did.
It's on
lovely.
there.
It's on there. Boom.
Boom.
Go do it.
Evidence. Unless I'm very quick at Photoshop, it's evidence.
That would be impressive if you Photoshop that together on an iPad.
A fake Audible audiobook page, and you just Photoshop the whole thing complete with description and everything.
It would be impressive, but that didn't happen.
No.
It's real.
That's my department. I'm
In
the
a
Photoshop
different
master.
Okay.
parallel universe, that did happen.
Ooh.
I'm that good.
Apparently.
Yes.
Wouldn't you like to live in that one?
Really?
Well, I didn't run the guy off the road in that universe.
So you're
He doesn't like the responsible version of himself.
So Dan, are you a road rager like I am? Do you like
No.
being jerks to
not-
people on the road?
Not many people road rage like you do, Devin.
I
I feel like that's the one aggressive trait I have.
passive
Right.
aggressively
Like,
driving.
All of my aggressive
Well-
potentiality is shoved into that one category of
Mhm.
road rage.
Remember when we discussed this? How you'll never teach them
Yeah,
and they'll
although
never learn.
I have a new guy that's a regular with me. Okay, so when I drive to work, I drive to work.
Wait. You regularly annoy each other driving?
Yes, it's the same guy. Okay. So I drive to work. I work the opening shifts. Okay. And it's about a half-hour drive to get to work.
Sure.
In the mornings, traffic isn't as bad. It's like maybe 20 minutes, 25 minutes, roughly.
Okay.
And there's this guy. He always ends up behind me. Almost every day I'm driving to work. Not every single day, but almost every day he ends up behind me. And he drives this white minivan with paint peeling off the hood. So it's like this weird
It's
gray.
classy.
Yeah, it's like an older minivan, and the paint's peeling to gray on the hood and
Okay.
everything. And he's one of those guys where I usually go about 10 over, right?
Sure.
5 to 10 over, just driving. He's going faster than me, and he's like swerving around, in and around people.
Okay.
I don't do that. I just
Yeah.
go, It'll evolve there at some point.
Yeah.
I just go 5 and 10, and I stay 5 to 10 over, and I stay in one lane, right?
Okay.
This guy's like swerving between people. He's like going 20, 25 over. Yeah, he doesn't really get anywhere any faster than I do. Like, I always run into him at the next red light. And so I've started, every time he's behind me, the person in the lane next to me, I'll just keep speed with so he can't pass. Even if it inconveniences me because the person in the lane next to me is going, 10 to 15 under, I'll just match that person's speed so he can't get
Okay.
around me.
Yep.
Then he gets right up on my bumper, like, let me know. And so
Mhm.
then when I come to a red light, I'll wait till the last possible moment to brake. I just kind of slam on my brakes.
Devin.
And part of me, even though it inconvenience me and make me late for work, part of me really hopes that he'll hit me, because then his insurance doesn't have to pay for it.
He still will not learn a lesson.
I know,
He
but
absolutely
he can.
will not.
I know, but
So why? Why are you doing this?
Because it'd be like, hey, you're not a safe driver. You just hit me. You have to pay me to fix my car.
Additionally, what
It inconveniences him.
It inconveniences you more because your car just got broke and
Yeah,
you have
but
to
he
deal
can-
with
he can
this
pay to fix
guy
it.
who clearly is not. He's gonna be a jerk about it.
Yeah, but if I could take him down with me, inconvenience us both. It's a win for me.
No, it's, but
you're also not sure he has insurance.
that's true.
That's true.
So that would be a major loss on your part.
And he would still not learn a lesson.
And I'm moving to
He
Iceland. I don't
would
need my
not
car.
Not
I'll be
learn a
moving to
lesson.
Iceland within a year or two.
Okay.
That's my plan
I don't need a car.
for you
at
to
that point.
move.
So what I'm thinking about doing too is, since he's regularly stuck behind. I honked at him a few times too because honking's fun. I love it.
Devin.
Because he got stuck.
What would
So there's a certain
this
part.
is what you do with the
in my-
power of just a car. I feel like you couldn't possibly handle any more power than that.
You're right. But so basically, there's a part in my path to work where he keeps going north and I have to turn east.
Okay.
And he was stuck at the red light, and I was in the turn lane. Boom, went right past him, And so I honked as I went past him, just kind of like, "Hey, you didn't get anywhere faster." And then I went
Is
around.
that
him.
you think that's the way he interpreted that?
No, I'm sure if I would have looked over, he would have been flipping me off. But I'm figuring, since this is such a regular occurrence where he's stuck behind me, I want to get a piece of cardboard and then kind of glue over some white paper on top of the cardboard, and then write a speed limit sign on the cardboard and just hold it out the window. Say the speed limit is 40. Calm down, and just hold it out the window when he's behind me. That
And
way he could see that.
This coming from the car that's driving 45 to 50?
Yeah, you're not going to hold that sign. It's going to fly.
That's true. Maybe it'll hit his windshield, though. and then it'll really
Well, if I make it small enough, it's not going to have the air resistance. But he also needs to be able to read it. That's a problem.
So you'll
I
get
could
it.
duct tape it to the back of my car. Say, you in the minivan, the speed limit is
And
40.
You know what he's
calm
gonna
down.
think? He's gonna think this guy is a complete control freak, and I don't like him.
That's
and he's
fine.
not
I
gonna
don't.
learn a lesson.
That's fine. I don't like it.
There's no point. You're putting
There's
in,
something.
for someone who
immensely-
can't be bothered. You're putting in way too much effort for something that doesn't matter to anybody but your own like neuroses.
Yeah, Nick. There's something deeply wrong with me.
There is
Because-
and it stems
because-
from power. We can't give you any power.
There's something deeply wrong with me because at this point, it's not even that I'm angry. Road rage is just kind of fun. Oh man, I'm a horrible person.
I mean, I guess it's good that you're getting it out anonymously on the road.
yeah.
And not getting in trouble for it. But
Well, hey, I'm not the one who ran somebody off the road, Dan.
Sorry.
he's apologizing to you about talking about it, not to the person he ran off the road.
Yeah.
No.
He's
Is he?
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you
Which
stop and
road
check?
was this?
Huh?
Did you stop and check?
Well,
Well,
the fireball.
I stopped and he was alive, and now he's not.
Oh, okay. Okay, gotcha.
Finish,
Gotcha.
finish the job.
Yeah. I don't half-ass anything.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
So, kind of, to anybody who may cross paths with Dan, be very careful.
Devin is
And-
passive aggressive. I'm just aggressive.
Yes. Just straight, calm demeanor, even when he's about to murder you. It's just like
Like-
one of those serial killers that you see from the movies where he
Yeah,
just walks
like
up
a
all calm.
maniac.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you just get the cleaver out of the out of the trunk of your Prius.
Notice we're both behind Dan, not the other way around.
Yes. I like the mental image of that, of like some guy injured on the side of the road, a Prius comes to a stop
And the guy slowly gets out, grabs a tire iron from the back.
out of the Prius.
Yeah.
And then beats a guy up, gets back in the Prius, and then drives off.
Tire iron's too messy.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I have tact when I'm being aggressive and maniacal.
Okay.
So like Silence 22?
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, Daniel Medina.
Stay tuned for nerd news.
Yes. And speaking of which, we should probably get started setting up the environment so Dan doesn't have to sit that close to the webcam
Okay.
during
You
our.
sure? I feel like they might enjoy his beautiful face.
They might. You should just
Hello.
do that the whole podcast. I like that.
Who doesn't like that? No,
See-
not focus. Okay.
So I think we're going to wrap up this podcast that we get started on the Nerd News podcast, which generally runs super long.
Yep.
So tune in for that. And we'll see you here in just a few minutes if you're watching the live stream.
Absolutely.
And in a few hours or between a few hours from now to about a day or two from now if you're watching the finished version on YouTube. The edited version of the Nerd News podcast will be up either a day or two after the edited version of this podcast.
Okay.
So stay tuned, and we'll bring you all of that. But that being said, it's time to wrap up the podcast. If you want to send in feedback about parallel universes like Jan did, you can definitely do so.
Our email is feedback@proactiveslackermedia.com. You can also leave a message on our Google Voice line at 720-295-0885.
Yes, you can also leave comments in the comments section on our YouTube page, which is youtube.com/proactiveslackers. Also, we have a website
proactiveslackermedia.squarespace.com.
and a Facebook
Facebook.com/proactiveslackermedia.
and a Twitter.
Twitter.com/PSM_company.
And we have our own personal Twitters.
I'm at ProSlackerNick.
I'm at Devin_H. That's DEVYNN_H. And Dan, is Dan supposed to give? We've never done this before. We've never had three.
That's true. He made a new account
I did.
just for the company.
Yes, but it's technically not for this podcast. I'm confused. We'll
It's
have
for
you
the-
say it anyway.
It's for the company because
Yes.
beforehand I only appeared on one thing.
Yes.
Now it's all anyway. At Nerd News Dan,
Yes.
and tell me how much you like me and dislike Devin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll read them on the podcast.
We will.
Absolutely.
I will cry and then I'll storm out of the room.
Not gonna
Dan will
happen
then follow me
because he's
with a
not in a
hatchet,
car.
and I'll be locked away in the trunk of his Prius, never to be seen again.
Okay. Well, he won't be there for long.
I'll just passively aggressively tailgate you on the way home.
All right. Also, if you want to help support us, you can definitely do so. Again, audibletrial.com/proactiveslacker. There's also our Patreon page.
Patreon.com/PSM.
Yes.
Okay.
And our Cafe Press store.
CafePress.com/proactiveslackermedia.
All right, and that's going to do it. Join us next Thursday for the live broadcast and next Friday for the finished version. And we'll see you here in just a bit for Nerd News.
See ya.
Goodbye.